Hey everybody, today I've got the tower as the obstacle and the two of coins, the two of deniers, the pentacles, as the opportunity. So starting with the tower, my main thoughts on this is the obstacle is the obstacle is not recognizing the the downsides, not recognizing the undesirable aspects of the destruction of a superstructure. I think that I think that it's always been popular for the lower class, for us lower class people, um, for the 99%, let's say, to to have this kind of relationship with this fantasy of the destruction of the ruling class, the revolution, taking all the elites to the guillotine. I mean, I don't think that's something we've got right now, but during the French Revolution, this that happened. A lot of people got guillotined, um, toppling toppling hierarchies. It's a very potent, timeless fantasy, and it's not without it's not without merit. There's there are plenty of aspects of any authority, right? That are constricting, prevent people from doing what they want to do, oppressing people, taxing people, and in some cases it's way more pain than is worth in the trade-off. Sometimes the trade-off is sometimes the trade-off is worth it. Sometimes there are, you know, there have been and probably will be benevolent dictatorships. I lived in Norway for a year. Everyone, the people, the citizens, they loved their king. Like, they loved their, and I mean, the king wasn't actually fully endowed with autocratic powers, but that was only something that I found out later. The perception of the king's power by the people was absolute, and they fully trusted this guy to, you know, act in their best interest, to serve as a type of buffer between the the contributing members of society and maybe the criminal or parasitic. Like, they looked to this authority figure to guide them, to set the pace. But there's plenty of horrible examples of this. So anyway, I think that the fantasy now, the the kind of energetic, you know, it's like this really energetic kind of, it's like a dream, a fantasy. It's this very general idea of, like, fuck over the establishment. Like, I'm not really sure how, and I'm not even really sure who, but them, like the oppressors, the, I don't know, big, some guy owns a big corporation, fuck him, right? Like, this presumption that if you're in a position of power, like, the only way you could have gotten there is by lying and cheating and fucking people over. And I personally think that, you know, many of us now live in a time when that's not the case. Not completely. Nothing's totally black and white except for Nerdy Tarot, which is black and white. Um, but I do think that I think a lot of the individuals in power right now, I think a lot of the structures, more importantly, because, you know, a CEO. What's a CEO? It's the corporation that really matters. The corporation is the true entity. CEOs come and go, right? Um, but yeah, I think a lot of these big entities or structures, there's fantasies of taking them down, watching them burn. In the last year, I've seen a lot of footage on TV of big box stores getting looted and people expressing this, this joy um, at seeing those big box places get looted and burnt down. If often if they see small family-owned businesses looted and burnt down, they're very upset by this. But the big ones, it's like it's impersonal. It's such a big structure. It doesn't seem to be directly tied to anything. So yeah, there's this fantasy to bring it down. And I think in some cases, sure, take down the oppressing entities that take more than they offer back, right? But I think in a lot of cases, I think there's a lot of structures and institutions that that if they were to come down, and in some cases that they are being brought down, they bring so much chaos along with it that it's not worth it, and it's easy to have the dream. It's easy to participate in politics, whether we're aware of it or not, by just talking, spreading things on social media. But yeah, I think failing to recognize the things that those systems offer us is an obstacle. If for nothing more than preparing ourselves. So, if there's someone out there that's like anti-establishment and they're actively working, let's say, to bring down the establishment. Let's say that the police is one example. I think politically in North America, we've seen a movement to defund or completely cancel the police. Now, in a lot of the areas where the police department was defunded or reduced to like a crisis support network, there have been, I think in Portland, it was like a 2,000% jump in murder rates, right? So my advice there would be like, if you still have your heart set on like taking down that establishment, at least by asking the question, what is that establishment providing that's useful? You can then follow up with, okay, so when it's gone, that will no longer be there. Let me prepare for that vacuum. Let me figure out my own way of dealing with that issue, because it's a very, very common thing for all of us to get on one side of an issue and then to completely dismiss the other side. It's very difficult for people to hold these kind of mixed positions. So like let's say with the police, it's like a lot of people that are very against the police and for defunding, cancellation. If you ask them to list three good things that the police offer, they can't bring themselves to answer that question because they're so passionately committed to the opposing viewpoint, right? They'll just say nothing. There's nothing that they bring. And I think that in a sense is the obstacle, right? Is feeling like if you acknowledge that there's anything of value, then you're not fully committed to bringing down the system, let's say. But I think this is absolutely necessary, particularly for people actually engaged in, you know, disassembling those kinds of structures. Now, as far as the opportunity is concerned, I think this one plays into the obstacle pretty well. So we got this loopiness. Uh, it's kind of like an infinity sign, you know. One of the things that I really like about the Waite card on the right is the waves of the body of water that these ships are on. I mean, they look pretty ridiculous. There are waves that look that crazy on the ocean, by the way. But, anyways, it looks silly. It looks like a cartoonish exaggeration. I like this. I like to see this card as a reminder of um, oscillating, looping uh, patterns that are just that are all around us. We often take them for granted. They always make up these dualities that define their extremes. So like day and night, you know, midnight and noon, the tide coming in and out, the uh, the summer solstice, the winter solstice, right? Um, or is it the equinoxes? Ooh, I should know this. Um, but yeah, these all of these different rotations and oscillations of systems. I think that I think that as far as the tower is concerned, you know, looking at human history in the longer term, there are definitely oscillations between, let's say, like freedom and security, or you know, liberal and conservative philosophical outlooks on how our lives should be governed, and they kind of, you know, they oscillate back and forth. It's like this great pendulum, right? Social movements, you know, pretty much everything that we've got going on now. It's not like it's the first time that it's happened. Technology certainly transforms things in a fascinating way, but I feel like it only adds to and maybe accelerates that oscillation between themes. In fashion, the other day I was talking about how, you know, fashion themes just kind of come back around, and yeah, and I think that is the value here is in interacting with those motions, with those oscillations, because if it's nighttime, but you know it's going to be daytime soon, you can act in a way that you can act in a way that accords with uh, how the daytime environment will, let's say, be favorable to you before that's actually the case. You can, and in that sense, you could theoretically get ahead of anyone or anything that's just acting like, you know, a lot of animals. It's like they're just in the moment. They don't have the ability to predict the future based on experiences that they've had of the past, right? But so like if you know winter is coming, this is the first example I thought of. Last year, last year in the summer, I was walking down the street and I saw these two beautiful giant sleds. You know, I'm far enough up north that the winter, you know, we get quite a bit of snow. And the winter prior, I tried to find some sleds to go, you know, just sledding down the hill in my neighborhood park. It's got a pretty wicked hill. It's a fun thing to do couple times per winter, you know, feel like a kid again. And the year before, I went all over the place in the winter trying to find, and I couldn't even find any good sleds. I ended up stuck with one of these magic carpet. You know, you're essentially sitting on a plastic bag. But here I was walking down the street in the summer, and there are these two huge, like adult size, full. I mean, I could pretty much just lay down in one of these things. Gigantic sleds, perfect condition, right? Someone was just, I guess, cleaning out their garage or something, tossed them out. Now, in the middle of summer, seeing sleds is like, of course, these things are useless, right? And it's so easy to look at them and contextualize them within a summer paradigm and be like, this has no value. This is comedically worthless, right? What are you gonna do with a sled in the middle of summer? But at the same time, we all know there is another winter. Winter is coming. There's another winter coming. You know, it might be months and months and months away, but it will get here. So grab those sleds, stash them in the garage, and then, you know, come winter, had these awesome sleds. Um, so yeah, so I think this card and the opportunity here lies in engaging in that kind of analytical, observational kind of thinking, looking at the environment, asking yourself, like right now it's starting to get warm outside again. There are things that people severely undervalue in this kind of weather that become really valuable again a couple months down the road. In a more complex sense, this applies to investing in stocks, right? Like, or any other thing. But yeah, just it can even be as simple as the really sort of obvious things, which is like, there's a certain time to plant seeds. It's like if you're planting seeds by the time the weather's really nice outside and it's really sunny, it's like you've waited too long and you won't, by that point the seedlings should have been already popping out of the earth. So now you're a month behind, and now by the time, the season is over, your plants are going to be too small. So there's like, yeah, pretty basic, I think pretty commonplace ways of interacting with the environment, knowing which movements are going to come back around again, and taking advantage of the kind of investments that could be made now that maybe now they don't seem like they're worth anything, but we know this thing is going to come back around. Fashion trends, who knows? So yeah, that's what I got for today. Hope maybe you get something useful out of it. Drop me a like if you enjoyed the video and comment. What's the hashtag? I thought I knew it yesterday, but it's a different hashtag that I use. Anyway, it's in the description. Comment, I think, hashtag tarot reading to be entered into a draw for a free one-on-one tarot reading at the end of the week. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.